And so I'd like to speak to you about Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton, before he became a star on Broadway, before he became the subject of a hit musical on Broadway, was known for the fact that he was the first Secretary of Treasury of the United States of America, and also that he was the founder, the architect, you might say, of early America's policy vis-a-vis fiscal financial matters. And recently a book appeared. Some of you may have read it. Some of you may have seen a review. The book is by Professor Andrew Portwancher, who is a professor in the Jewish Studies Department at the University of Oklahoma. And the book is called The Jewish World of Alexander Hamilton. And in this book, Professor Portwancher makes a fairly convincing case that Alexander Hamilton was born Jewish. Now, why does he make this assertion? Alexander Hamilton's mother, Rachel, was living in St. Croix in the Virgin Islands, and she was married to a man by the name of Yohanan Levine, who was assumed as a Jewish man. She never received communion. She was not married in a church. She was never baptized. She had a kind of a rough and tumble relationship with Mr. Levine. He had her in prison for adultery for a while. She went back to Mr. Levine, but then she left him and she moved to the island of Nevis in the British West Indies. And in Nevis, she met a man by the name of James Hamilton, and they had a son in 1755 by the name of Alexander. Alexander Hamilton was never baptized, never received communion until the very last day of his life after the duel with Aaron Burr. And Alexander Hamilton never belonged to any church. And so Professor Portwancher assumes that Alexander Hamilton was Jewish because he attended the Jewish school in Nevis. Matter of fact, later on he told one of his descendants that he remembered as a boy reciting the Ten Commandments in Hebrew when he went to the Jewish school in Nevis. And Professor Portwancher says that if his mother was not accepted as a convert, and if he were not accepted as Jewish, he wouldn't have been allowed to attend the Jewish school in Nevis. First of all, they would accept only Jewish students. And secondly, the Christian authorities would not have permitted a Christian boy to attend a Jewish school. So that's his argument for the fact that Alexander Hamilton was born Jewish. And it seems to me that it's a very compelling argument. It's not ironclad. We don't know for sure, but we do know Alexander Hamilton never belonged to a church in his life. And Alexander Hamilton, as I said, was the first Secretary of the Treasury. And later on, he left public service and went to become a lawyer, one of the most successful commercial lawyers in the city of New York. And as a lawyer, Alexander Hamilton had Jewish clients. Sometimes he defended them, sometimes he opposed Jews in court, but he always was quick to defend the Jewish people. And there was a very famous commercial case of a man who had merchandise that he had agents to sell for him in Europe. He claimed the merchandise was worth such and such an amount. The people against him claimed it was worth less. And in this gentleman's favor were two witnesses of Sephardic Jews from Europe. And the opposing attorney in the case was a man by the name of Governor Morris. Governor Morris argued in court that the testimony of these Jewish men could not be accepted because everyone knows that the testimony of a Jew is worthless, that Jews don't hesitate to lie under oath. And this, of course, got Alexander Hamilton extremely upset. First of all, it smacked of the discrimination of the Middle Ages. And secondly, he said that the Jewish religion was given to the Jews by God, and the Jews are forbidden to falsely swear. That's part of the Ten Commandments. And he gave a long defense of Jewish people. And so Alexander Hamilton never had any animus against the Jews, and he was quick to speak out on behalf of Jews. And as I mentioned before, working along with John Jay, he revised the charter for the Columbia University to ensure that Jews would be allowed to go there. And it was through Alexander Hamilton's efforts that Gershon Mendes Seixas, who was the Chazan, the leader of the synagogue in New York City, great patriot himself, that he was appointed to the board of Columbia University and served alongside Alexander Hamilton for many, many years. So Alexander Hamilton, whether he was born Jewish or not, and it seems to me most likely that he was, but certainly Alexander Hamilton never in any way expressed any anti-Semitism or any Jewish feelings whatsoever.